Well, it's so good to see all of our good friends coming in and wanting to spend some time with us here on a Saturday night up here in Boston. And wherever you are, we hope you're having a really nice summer night. We hope everything's going well for you. Well, my name is Rick Farron. This is my wife, Susan Farron, and we love to have your company tonight. Now, we have a number of programs here on the six screens. We've got a few of them coming up here tonight. We've got Anne Marie coming in. She's a former Jehovah's Witness out of California. And Anne Marie will be coming on tonight, and she certainly would love to have you call into the program. So try to muster up the courage. And the telephone number is scrolling across the bottom. You will see it. And just dial that number, and you can talk with Anne Marie, and she can help you. She can navigate your way through the deep sea of uncertainty of the Watchtower. So, in fact, Susan wants to make a comment. Yes, go ahead,
You
Susan.
know, I want to tell you something. If you want someone kind and loving and good to help you through this tough time of leaving the Watchtower, please talk to Anne Marie. She helped me so much as I was leaving. This woman has just an abundance of kindness and love on her heart. So please muster up the courage to talk to her, because it's a real blessing to be able to talk to this woman.
Well, you said it right, Susan. It really, really is. Well, hello, Anne Marie. You there with us?
I'm right here with you, Rick, and my dear sister, Susan. Susan, you're so sweet.
Well, it's the truth. I'm just speaking truth.
There you go. Well, Anne Marie, we're looking forward to your program. Boy, we got a lot of people coming in already. So give us a little highlight. What will you be talking about tonight?
Well, actually, I was listening to one of your JW World News shows. You know, I have a playlist of it. And you were talking about how the Watchtower isn't your grandfather's Watchtower. It's not the same, and all the changes. And it suddenly occurred to me, the reason why we all joined, those of us who voluntarily joined, is because their teachings at the time were taught as truth, and we believe them. So my theme is, what Watchtower teachings did you believe as truth that had been abandoned?
Oh, that's good. Very good topic.
Yeah, good topic, Anne Marie. So we're looking forward to it. So how are you doing tonight?
A little shaky. My disabled sister-in-law hasn't woke up yet, so I'm kind of nervous that she's going to wake up yelling for me. So I am in Walnut Creek still taking care of my sister-in-law, sorry. Anyway, so.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you have a
well.
problem, let me know, and I'll pop right in here and help you out. Don't you worry, okay?
You're always helping me out.
Well, that's all right. You're
Hopefully
always
I don't forget the
Well,
mute.
he's always helping.
well,
everyone.
you're always helping us out too. So don't you worry about that. We're here to help you. So that's good. So, anyways, well, I'm just thinking. So I'm just thinking out loud here. So something that we kind of liked about the truth. Would you like me to talk
Well,
about?
something that we actually believe that was taught. Like, for instance, if you, we were strictly told that, you know, we're Jehovah's Witnesses, and how can you call yourself a Jehovah's Witness if you're not out there witnessing? If you're not out there witnessing, then you're not being a witness to Jehovah. It was so strict. I made a list, and I'm sure many people can think of different things, including you and Susan, hopefully. But it's not just that now men can get away with having beards or not wearing a tie or wearing colored shirts. It's been like this slow turn off the freeway that was supposed to take us to paradise like 55 years ago.
Well, I'll tell you something. Susan and I are going to be talking about tonight on JW World
What's
News, and we've been getting some people giving us information here that the Watchtower may be doing away with chaperones.
Well, from what I listened to you last night, I don't know what show it was, but you were bringing up how if a couple wanted to get married in the Kingdom Hall, they were just put through the ringer, grilled and drilled. And if they had bridesmaids, they would all be interviewed. And I mean, my goodness. So to go from interviewing and who touched who where and how far did it go and all that BS to not having chaperones. My grandson got married like 3 years ago. And he and his wife were never, ever even spending a minute alone. Their parents were hyper, super diligent, on JW crack. They never let them have a moment alone, not even a minute. Can you imagine that? So the first time they got married, it's like, oh, wow, we can have a minute alone. Of course, that was after everything. Can you imagine that? How do you know someone you can't even take a walk together?
Well, I'll tell you what. We've been doing some research here all week on this because it really caught my attention. And what we're finding, Anne Marie, and we're going to reveal it here tonight on our news program. But, if you're chaperoned, things can be a little rough on your marriage. There's a direct connection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, you're going to get a kick.
Exactly.
You're going to get a kick out of it. Well, I won't talk too much more about that. We'll cut you loose and let you go. We're here if you need us. Thank you.
Oh, I thank you and Susan so, so very much. I want to welcome everyone into the show. Today is Sixth Screen Saturday once again, and the date is July 25th, 2026. This is the show touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower, as we all were. In fact, even friends and family, co-workers maybe who were never part of the organization, guess what? Because of our crazy behavior and our twisted minds, they were touched by those tentacles of the Watchtower as well. I want to welcome the PIMQs. Those are still physically in the Watchtower, but mentally they are questioning. They're not those solid believers anymore, and they're not mentally out because they haven't done the research yet. They don't know what the heck's going on, and they're scared. I want to welcome the PIMOs. Oh, my God, I feel so sorry for them. They are still physically in the Watchtower, living the Watchtower two-step script, but mentally they are out, and it is a struggle because they're having basically to fake it, to live a double life. I want to welcome all my dear friends, all of my dear Sixth Screen family. Oh my God, I love you all so much. And I want you to know, please feel free to call in and say hello, but briefly, before you guys hit *6, if you have a hankering to do that, I want to introduce a theme. I want you to think back when you were a believing Jehovah's Witness, no matter if you were depressed or kind of like, what the heck, or sister nosy is just getting into my business way too much, or whatever it was, when you were a believing Watchtowerite, what Watchtower teachings did you believe as the truth that have since been abandoned? I've made a list, and I'm just hoping that maybe you can think of at least one thing, because, witnesses back then, at least back, in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, what I remember is one of the biggest things is they would always go on about how they were different because they were true Christians. They were God's organization. They weren't like other religions because they have the truth. Well, for good gracious sakes, if they have the truth and if they were really speaking for God, how come they've made so many changes? Brother Dick Borgie brought out a point in an old show I was listening to, and I've just heard this morning. And Brother Dick Borgie brought out a point that went, holy turkey brains. I never thought of that. He said, if they really speak for Jehovah God, and all those books and all those magazines and all those brochures were from Jehovah's Holy Spirit, then that's like kind of sacred material. He said that's kind of like the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. He said those were works of men, good men, intelligent men, important men, but just men. And yet these documents are behind glass, sealed glass, and they have guards. But yet all of this literature that Watchtower claimed at the time was from Jehovah through Holy Spirit to the governing body, the faithful slave. All of a sudden, a few years ago, they started telling us, throw it away, give it away, get rid of it. Up until now, it's garbage. So if it was inspired of God, how could you throw away God's word? If men's work is sacred, then isn't God's word sacred? And if it really wasn't God's word, if it really wasn't through Holy Spirit that the magazines and the books and the brochures and all that got written, then that means they lied to us all those years. So which is it? And Dick brought that out, and I'm like, holy turkey brains, I never thought of that. So I'm asking all of you, if you will, think back when, you're getting ready for the Tuesday meeting, you did your book study, you're getting ready for the Thursday meeting, the service meeting, you're going over your kingdom ministry, you have a part in the ministry school, you have a talk, whatever. How did you feel, and what did you believe is truth that made it different? Because, hey, why not be a Baptist or a Presbyterian or a Lutheran? What teachings did Watchtower have you believing is truth that have since been abandoned? Anybody have any thoughts? Or just want to say hi, star 6, I'm here for you. Well, I don't have any good jokes. If I knew nobody was going to be here. Yeah, Who's this?
Hey, this is Donald here from Texas.
Oh, Donald, that's always so cool.
Back when I was studying, the biggest thing I can remember was, you guys gotta remember, I never was a JW, but I was studying, and this was back in the early 90s. The big thing that was going on at the time was this whole thing about, Armageddon, the Armageddon teaching and the new system. And I remember, I remember the brother that was teaching me was telling me that I should have put all my hobbies aside and wait till the new system.
Oh, brother.
But then today I was listening to a video, and I don't remember who the video was by, but they mentioned something about a loaded language word, past truth. They said that the older stuff that they don't use no more is what they called past truth.
So they changed it from old light to past truth. I have to take note of that. Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know where that comes from? Donald, please forgive your mouthy sister. But you just brought out another point that George Orwell brought out in his book, 1984. They'll be changing things around. Past truth. I forgot, Rick brought it out one time. He who controls the past controls the present, or he who controls the present controls the past or the future. They're really sneaky. Oh, Donald, that's great. Got any more to add?
Just that was the thing that I was going with, because like I said, I was only studying, so I never became that like that. But the whole Armageddon teaching, the teaching of abandoning your friends and your family, that typical stuff was the thing for me back in the early 90s. So I wasn't in long enough to really notice anything different, because I got out pretty quick, because I didn't like the control. The control thing that really got me was telling me to abandon my friends and stuff. I thought, this ain't right. I ain't gonna do that, So I didn't get very deep into it. But it wasn't until the internet came along that I really started studying and looking at Jehovah's Witnesses, finding out what all they taught. That's why now I'm pretty well versed in what they teach, because I've listened to a lot of videos, a lot of YouTube videos, and a lot of people's stories, and it's amazing what that organization does to manipulate people, even if it means throwing away old books. Like you said, why throw them away if it's God's word? Why burn them or get rid of them if it's God's word?
Yeah. Good point, Donald.
They do that because they know what they taught was wrong and from Satan, and they know that if that information got out, they would be in a whole lot of trouble.
They're sneaky, 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 and so manipulative. And it's scary because
they're not that sneaky because the internet's catching up with them.
Oh, they're still sneaky, but they're just to run fast enough because their pants are down and everybody's seeing them for what they are. But what's scary to me is whatever they taught, we had to believe it, or at least pretend to believe it, or we'd get in trouble. And then later we're told that we needed clarification.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Oh, Donald, I do appreciate your calling in. What? Give me some more, honey. You were going to say something?
That's all I can think of at the moment, because I said I didn't get that much because I was just studying with my study conductor, and I wasn't in the organization that long, so I never got baptized. But yeah, that was my thing back then, was just the Armageddon thing and just the stuff that I was being taught, because I was taught from the You Can Live Forever in Paradise on Earth book. That was the book that I read.
Yeah, that was big at the time. Came out in the 80s, like 84, 85.
Yeah, I was reading that in the 90s. Yeah.
So I just hear you, just from what you've said, that even though they use cult recruiting, mind control tactics on you, it probably sounded reasonable, but there was like, I don't know if I'm going to be falling for this. This is just kind of too far off in left field and a bit twisted. Yeah. I love that you brought out past truth. That is something from George Orwell. Yeah, it's all about mind control.
And I'm thinking, how could it be truth if it's past? I mean, how could it be? That don't make sense. If it's the truth, it should be non-changing. Truth does not change. It doesn't change from one thing to another.
Donald is so correct, because the use of the word truth itself, the definition.
Well, if it is true, why throw away all the books if it's true?
It doesn't really make sense. So if it's true, then it should be true tomorrow, next week, next month.
But you got to remember, way back when Charles Taze Russell was doing everything, what they taught back then. Oh my goodness! If a Jehovah's Witness would have believed what Russell taught then and believed it now, they would be disfellowshipped, probably.
Yeah.
Oh, no doubt.
But
I got a key to this for you, and I mentioned it last week. The $9 book, the author has a funny spelling because he's a Dutch man. So it's Merleau, and it looks like a made-up name, but he's real. He wrote the book in 1961. It's just been republished. It's called Rape of the Mind. It's $9. It talks about Korean prison camp techniques, and he has a whole chapter on the misuse of the word truth.
Oh, wow.
Pixie, sounds like you're talking about another gem. Rape of the Mind.
I think that's what it is, because they've reprinted it. And again, it's only $9, and he was an expert in 1961.
Yeah, and there's another thing that I don't know where it is, but I'll have to go back and check it out. But something I heard today about the re-education camps in China, how they manipulated people, and how that relates to cults and stuff. It was about loaded. I think it was about loaded language and stuff, but it was some of the loaded language they used in those camps to re-educate people. And some of that related to Watchtower.
Well, they'll tell you 2 and 2 equals 5.
We have to come up with a comedy routine, Pixie.
Hey, that's so sassy. That's not me. I didn't write that one.
I know you didn't, but just there's so many quirkies.
I know. I found, now this is just my thing because it goes back to the Bible students, but I have looked for decades upon decades for the key to this other thing, and it might interest the listeners. I was watching a show about a biographer. This author is very footnoted and not dry. And he's written a biography on a very infamous gentleman who was a con man and much more, named Aleister Crowley. You've heard of him. He was an interesting dude. Now wait, he was an educated dude.
I know he was.
Now, this man, who is a biographer of many different famous people, including this gentleman I noted, not sure he was a gentleman, he was a con man and brilliant. Well, turns out I have looked and looked and looked for a Golden Dawn link to the Millennial Dawn, the Bible students, and Russell. And I have looked for decades. And on this short YouTube biography, this author says, well, he had a correspondence course with the other lodge he had that was a mail order lodge. And he had it with a man named Charles Russell.
Dixie, you are off the hook.
And I looked for decades for that because they're always saying, well, Russell wasn't a Mason. Well, he kind of sort of was. Well, evidently he was a Mason.
He was a Mason. We all know
there
he
you
was.
Go. So that explains
Why did my circuit for years, when I was a kid in the 60s in San Francisco, guess where our circuit assembly was held?
Masonic
for
Lodge.
Years. At the Masonic Temple.
Yeah,
Yep.
I don't have anything against the Masons, but the thing is that Russell said he wasn't one, and I could see by his paragraphs that he kind of sort of was.
Really? Did he ever say he really wasn't? I never heard him say he wasn't.
He wasn't, but he was in a made-up one. Okay, this is a made-up lodge of his making, along with Crowley and the Golden Dawn people.
Yeah, that Crowley gives me the creepos.
I'd love to interview him. He was a great
you have the personality and the strength of mind for it. He just freaking creeps me out. Okay, anybody, do you have any thoughts on the subject at all? I'd love hearing from you, but I get sidetracked so easily, and I wanted to kind of get everybody's opinion who would care to share when they were in the Watchtower, hopefully believing at some point, what Watchtower teachings did you believe as the truth that has been abandoned, like since been abandoned? I just have a little list here. Can you think of anything, Pixie? Because you're smart. You have a good memory. No? Okay. Well, I remember we all had to join the ministry school. Once you hit 10 or 11, if you hadn't joined the ministry school by then, you were pushed. It was a requirement. And we were all told that we were to be trained to be able to stand up and defend our faith and to give a witness for Jehovah and Jesus and his kingdom at any point in time. And we should remember these scriptures and those scriptures, and we should be able to pull out our Bible. And we had to carry our Bible in the ministry. And that's what we taught from, the Bible, the Bible, the Bible. And you guys know that if you run into any witnesses with carts, they don't have Bibles. I kind of thought that was strange. And then they took away the ministry school. So that's kind of one thing that kind of blew me away, because I had to join the ministry school. And when you join the ministry school, what you have to do, you have to at least have your assigned talks. You can't just say, well, I don't feel like it. You have to do it. And then you get graded on it. And the brothers, they learn to speak very well from the platform, but that's kind of a drudgery and a pain in the butt. And then you get graded from the stage. Well, thank you, brother. Helpful, yeah, it was a really good talk. You need to work on your gestures, or you gestured too much, or you need to work on your volume or your intonation. And you get critiqued in front of the whole congregation. How embarrassing, even if you're a little kid. Can anybody think of anything that Watchtower taught that at the time that you believed was the truth? Yes, who's this?
Hi, Marie. This is Stefan. How are you today?
Well, tell you the truth, I miss your voice, so I have to say I'm happy to hear you. How are you, Stefan?
Oh, well, great. I am good. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I think I'm in a bad area, but I was thinking about a teaching. I don't think that they ever, or at least acknowledged that they abandoned the teaching. But when I was a young person, which is going back a long time ago, they used to teach that this one verse in the Bible that had to do with this individual that basically had ascended to the heights of God, and he was so beautiful and blah, blah, blah. And this was all a part of their narrative as to how it was that Satan, the devil, came into existence. Because, of course, the more, I guess I'll say theoretical question is, if God is only good, why would he create the devil? And so Watchtower was always trying to go, no, Satan created himself. And they would use this particular verse. And when you go and you read the verse yourself, it's very clear that it is not talking about Satan the devil. It was talking about, I believe it was talking about the Babylonian emperor Nebuchadnezzar. But yet Watchtower always said that that verse was about the devil. It shows how the devil came into existence. And then, of course, what Watchtower does is they just stop, espousing a certain teaching. They just don't mention it ever again. But I think that's a very good example of something that Watchtower used to teach, because they used to beat that verse home about how the devil created himself and that this verse is all about the devil. And then all of a sudden, they just don't mention it anymore, because that verse was never about the devil. That verse, if it was about anybody, it was about the king of Babylon. Thanks, Anne-Marie.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Stefan. The only thing I can think of, unfortunately, when I arrived with my suitcase, I didn't bring my Bible or my concordance, but I do believe it was in Isaiah chapter 4 or maybe 14, where somebody, I don't know if it's the Bible writer or an angel, but somebody is quoting Satan, from what I understand, where he was basically jealous of God. He said, I will rise up and I will make myself a God, and they will believe me, and they will follow me. And if I remember correctly, that particular verse that I'm thinking of, I don't think was Nebuchadnezzar. It was about Satan himself, basically saying, I'm going to, shine, and I'm going to get everybody to believe me. And that's what the Watchtower has done in my mind. Just like Corinthians says, I don't know if it's first or second, I think second, where it talks about those who support Satan and talk about how Satan's ministers, act all like they're holy, and they look so good. And no wonder, because Satan himself turns himself into an angel of light. They always preach about new light, and they lie and they manipulate. Well, if they were truly from God, they wouldn't be lying and manipulating along with whatever light they're bringing. So I don't know. I think there's almost more to the Bible than we think there is, like way more. I think Satan is way sneaky. He's had like thousands of years of practice. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go on. But God, Donald, thank you so much for bringing that up. Stefan, I know your name.
Yep.
I'm just trying to see if you're paying attention.
I'm paying attention. And I have another one if you want to hear it very quickly.
I do.
This was about a teaching about Gog of Magog. And I'm pretty sure you can probably go on the website under Beliefs Clarified, and you'll see the continual flip-flop of Gog of Magog. But the last flip-flop that I'm aware of had to do with David Splain. And, we always joke that David Splain goes up there and he starts splaining. But anyway, he was basically saying that they had gotten this Gog of Magog. And I think initially they said that the verse was about the devil, but it was really about Jehovah, or vice versa. I don't remember now, but you can go and watch. You can go and watch the video. Yeah, but that just lets you know. Now, if you're a God's 1 and 2 organization, and you read this verse and you think it's about God and it's really the devil, or you think it's about the devil and it's really God, that shows you right there you have no accurate understanding of the Bible. But that's another one. And you can go up there and see the David's Plain video where he goes in there. And honestly, again, if you go and you read that verse, it's very clear who it's about, and he still has it wrong. The Watchtower has never been about truth. Whether they've known the truth is debatable, but they certainly have published whatever they've published, and basically they've only changed it when it was absolutely positively necessary. They are not about the truth, even though they try to call themselves the truth. Thanks, Anne-Marie.
Oh, God, thank you so much, Stephen. You are a man of intelligence, and you are not ashamed to bring out what you figured out. And I just thank you. You're so right, especially about the back and forth. I swear, sometimes I think we're playing ping pong or tennis. You know, we get something thrown at us, and we're supposed to figure out what to do with it, and we throw it back in the other court, and it comes back something else. It's new light, it's old light, it's reinterpreted light, and now it's recycled light. Oh, this was taught as, you know, the truth, and then they make they throw it away and bring back another, like, for instance, the truth that leads to eternal life. Dick Borghi, our brother, has brought out this book so many times because it was a key book in bringing as many as we can into Jehovah's organization before it's too late and Armageddon comes in 1975. And if they aren't ready to take a stand for Jehovah within 6 months, just drop them, because we don't have time to waste on people. And, you know, on and on and on. Well, that book eventually, even though it was the cornerstone for a while for the truth and the ministry work, it just got thrown to the wayside. Nobody talks about it. Then in 1995, I believe it came back, recycled as a book called The Knowledge That Leads to Everlasting Life. And conspicuously, the second chapter that was originally in the book, the blue book, the first book that came out, The Truth That Leads to Eternal Life, the second chapter in that 1968 book released, The Truth That Leads to Eternal Life, the second chapter is entitled Why It Is Wise to Examine Your Religion. And then the Watchtower spends a whole chapter explaining why it is so important before God. If you really are a lover of truth, there is no harm in doing your due diligence and examine whatever religion or organization. They said that. I still have the book. I would hold on to it with my life. But here comes the recycled version of The Truth That Leads to Eternal Life in a new book called The Knowledge That Leads to Everlasting Life. Conspicuously, that second chapter where they tell you to examine your religion carefully and that you're not offending God and not being disloyal to God if you do investigate your religion. Funny how that particular scripture is missing, and how many people around even remember that book. What is it, dear?
Yeah, no, I was just agreeing with you. And I was thinking about the 1975 millions now living will never die. And then that got switched to millions now living may never die. And then, of course, we know all those millions that were then alive are now all deceased. And I just have one question. You know, they just raised this question that perhaps, you know, the end won't come in your lifetime. So I just have one question for Watchtower, which is, well, what do we do with all these damn go bags? You've been having
about that
stories. What do we do with the go bags? You know, we got them right by the front door here. We've had to swap the water out because the water is going bad, and I'm sure the lifetime on some of the perishables has. What do we do with all these go back now that the end is not going to come in your lifetime, which is just not going to come at all? What do we do with these go bags? So it's I mean, we can laugh. We're blessed that we can laugh at this now, but I still feel so bad for those that are still in it because they just can't see these things. It's so obvious to everybody else.
Yeah, and they're hanging on in the middle of. What's that, sweetheart?
Hey, Stefan. Hi, Anne-Marie. It's Maverick here.
Hi, Maverick.
Yeah, hi. I was just going to add to your point, Stefan. I wonder if the Watchtower will release a new release and call it millions now living should save for their retirement.
Oh, stop it. But wouldn't it be funny?
Everything's led up to that, so they've done everything else. Millions now living will never die, and then they may last a little bit longer, overlap a few times, and now hang on a minute, new light, millions now living should save for their retirement because it's not coming in our lifetime.
Well, I have one for you if you guys will indulge me. I ran across an awake, or I don't know, but it was in black and white, and it showed a pencil drawing of a graveyard and all these gravestones. And the millions now living will never die was I think given at a talk at Cedar Point, Ohio. And then in 1920, Rick can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure I'm wrong, but around 1920, he put out the book, and then there was the Millions campaign where all of these Jehovah's Witnesses, most of them homeless, went door to door preaching that millions now living will never die. And, that went on for a million years. But anyway, I discovered a Watchtower article, I'm pretty sure it was, and at the top of the article was this pencil drawing of a graveyard, and right below the graveyard, I'm going to give you a chance to guess in relation to that book what the title of that article was, just because you all are smart. In relation to millions now living will never die, in the 90s, Watchtower came out with an article that showed a graveyard, and below it was the caption, something to do with the millions thing. Anybody want to just give a stab at it? I'll tell you, when I read it, I called up my Nazi JW mom, and even she laughed. The caption of the article was, "Millions now dead will live again." And the preaching campaign had been, "Millions now living will never die." They just, when enough time passes, they can just twist it around and make it feel like, oh, it was always that way. I'm sorry, but I thought that was funny. Somebody start laughing, even if just to appease me. Gee.
Hi, Anne Marie. I'm laughing.
Hi, my love. I'm happy to hear your voice.
Yes, Nadine. Speaking of that, the resurrection, I was going to say, they taught that, if you're married and then one of you die, that, when you're resurrected, you can't be married to that person anymore.
What is up with that? Where did they get that, I wonder?
They made it up.
I think they did.
It was made up. Okay, so now they say, for some reason I'm coughing. Hold on, just a second. Take some water. Hold on a second. Okay, but now I believe they say, we just don't know. We don't know. We have to leave that in Jehovah's hands. Whether
they are
or not,
so split. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was because this is what they, again, I hope this is like made up. So if the one partner got remarried, and then in the resurrection, when the other person came back, there wouldn't be a problem. They wouldn't be fighting over the same person. So then Jehovah was going to put it in the person that was resurrected. They would have no desire to be with somebody.
Oh my God, Nadine, that makes so much sense. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
You have a good brain.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and so, which is, it's not in the Bible. I mean, that is just purely just made up stuff. And
they get an idea. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so now they just say, we just don't know. We don't know. And another thing, with the tribulation, where you had to be on board and a Jehovah's Witness during the tribulation. But then they switched it and said, well, no, you can change your mind at the last minute.
Oh, yeah.
You can change your mind at the last minute, But then there was a Watchtower recently that said, you have to obey whatever we say if you want to make it through the grade. So which one is it? Can you just come on board at the last minute? Or do you have to be a Jehovah's Witness before the tribulation starts? There's
honey, pick a coin. Pick a coin and flip it. What were you going to say, brother?
Hello?
Oh, this is Sister Nadine. Thank you so much. Yes, who's it?
Well,
You're
this is
welcome.
Whitley. Hi, Anne-Marie. This is Whitley.
Hidley. Thank you, Nadine. Hidley, talk to me. You know damn well I missed you. Where the hell you been?
I know. I've been hanging around. I've been listening. But I love what Nadine put down because,
good.
it's commented. She's good.
Mm-hmm.
My sister and the rest of the audience, that is kind of cruel. I just wanted to say one quick thing. That's kind of cruel what Watchtower has put in. Try to say about the resurrection and about they not to put any desire that God won't put the desire for that resurrected one to get married. That's kind of cruel. That was not found in the scriptures, but that was kind of cruel of them to, off the top of their head, maybe personally, because a lot of things I believe is just something personally that the leadership is giving out to people or saying, rhetorically to people. And also what they brought out recently in, I think it was on XJW Reddit. You have to, even if Jehovah doesn't really give us the information, the Holy Spirit, whatever we say, and if it sounds kind of, not too, kind of like not too shabby, you have to obey. I mean, that's, it all sounds kind of shady. That's all I wanted to say, darling. That's all I wanted to say.
Italy, I hope you know I love you and I have missed you. And I
love you too, Mama.
I
love
beautiful.
you too. And thank you for this show. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on. I've listened to you many times over the years when you've come on here and there, and then you're gone. And I'm like, where is Italy? So thank you, because you brought up stuff that sometimes I'm afraid to bring it up, what you said, because you have some insight that I wish more people could know.
And you do too, my dear. You do too.
Oh, thank you. Talk to me later. Who's this, dear?
Hi, this is Susan.
Well,
How
I
are
hope
you?
it was. Happy that I got it right for once.
There are several things that the Watchtower has flip-flop ping-ponged on, which really, if I was sitting in the hall, I would be extremely upset if I were still a witness. One is the generation, because that goes all over the map. What is a generation?
Yeah,
I don't think they really know. I don't think they have a definition at all. And next would be some of the grooming ways that they've kind of relaxed just to social pressure. So it shows that social pressure, the Watchtower will not fight back on that. And they used to do it very strongly, but they don't anymore. They just, whatever anybody wants, that's what they're going to get, because the seats are empty and we've got to fill them up. And that has been so, you can see it so easily. So I wouldn't go to the hall if I were a witness. Even now, if I were still sitting there, I would just pick up and leave because of those things.
Oh my God. Does anybody remember, of course, I guess the older I get, the more I'm not going to get any answers. Does anybody remember a March 1st, 1979 organization? Watchtowers, kind of yellow before they had all those fancy pictures. It was kind of yellow, and right across in big letters on the lower bottom of the front page, it had this big, bold title that said, "Put faith in a victorious organization." And I something bothered a bit. Does anybody get what's wrong in that title? that they preached that we had to believe as the truth?
Well, they're pointing at the organization. They're not pointing at the one who is in charge of that organization. They're just pointing at themselves. And I never saw that. I was just so interested in gaining new friends and learning that God's name is Jehovah and being so excited and going out in service and getting to know everyone, going to assemblies. They made everything so exciting when you first joined. But after that, it wasn't so much.
No, there isn't. But I remember staring at that March 1st front page, put faith in a victorious organization, and I couldn't figure out what was really bothering me. It sounded really hopeful and happy, but then I realized they had slipped in the word victorious. If they had taken out or left out the word victorious, the title would now read, Put Faith in the Organization, not Put Faith in Jehovah. We're supposed to be Jehovah's Witnesses. Don't put faith in Jesus. Don't put faith in the Bible. What are we supposed to put faith in? The organization. And if that wasn't enough, I don't remember the exact title, but the very next Watchtower study, the next month, was something to the effect of come to Jehovah's Organization for salvation. It's like Rick has said, they tell you before they tell you when they're telling you, and they tell you after they told you. But they tell it in such a way as you're always thinking it's those guys over there. Couldn't possibly be our governing body. Couldn't be our teachers. Go ahead, my love. Did I lose you, Susan?
I muted myself. I'm sorry.
Oh,
yeah.
Good. You do it too. Thank you.
I do. It's
You're my
so
best
easy.
friend. I drive people crazy when I forget. I swear I try so hard not to get.
Yeah.
Tell me your thoughts, my love.
Well, what makes me sad, I guess I enjoyed myself at times being a witness. I did. I'm not going to deny that, because there were times when I was, I'll say, content. But after a while, you just can't be. Everything changes, and what's the key is it happens so slowly you don't notice it, and that's all done on purpose. Very slowly, slowly, slowly. The words in the Bible change. A lot of words changed in the New Silver Sword from the Old Green Bible, and I'm hearing that there's going to be another release. So we shall see.
I wish they'd go back to cigarette wrapping paper in their Bibles, because the Gray Bible, the paper is terrible.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't know our Bibles were made out of cigarette paper. I laughed when I found that out. I laughed so hard. But it's way better, more durable than the really bad paper in the Gray Bible. Just falls apart. You have to barely touch it. Mm-hmm. Anything else you can remember? How about toast? I mean, I don't know about you, but every wedding we ever went to, and a lot of us got to go to non-JW relatives' parties. Maybe it was, a nice reception for a wedding. And we felt we could go to that, and everybody's happy, and everybody's giving speeches, and here's to the new bride and groom, or here's to, and you're supposed to raise your glass and here, or salute, or cheers, or whatever. We couldn't do that. Oh, no, that's not pleasing to Jehovah. We could never toast, and now it's up to our conscience. That's a big change. Guys, are you all asleep? You guys want to?
Well, I can check. Well, no, I'll come in, Anne-Marie. I got something. I got a couple of them here that I'm thinking about. You got me thinking. I think you got the audience thinking. Now, I remember this one because I had a friend that died because of this policy of the Watchtower, and I remember it goes right. Well, it goes back to November 1967, Anne Marie. I don't think you were even born then.
Oh, you were so. Don't tell me I wasn't born.
All right.
To be a pain in your behind.
Well, I'll tell you what went on in November of 1967. The Watchtower.
What happened?
Well, they published a policy declaring that receiving a human organ transplant meant was cannibalism. You got it. It equated to cannibalism. Now, for 13 years, and I had a friend that died because they needed a liver transplant and couldn't take it. So for 13 years, the Watchtower said that if you had a kidney transplant or even like a cornea for your eye, you would actually face. I'm serious. You could not even have a cornea transplant because actually what this would do is you would face religious discipline and shunning. Both. It was deemed, I'll tell you what, taking an organ transplant, according to this November 67 Watchtower, it's saying that it's deemed a serious violation of God's law regarding human life and the use of one's body. Isn't that something? Yeah.
I mean, that's something, but I don't want to say on the open air what something it is.
Yeah, but now the good thing is, after 13 years, in 1980, the Watchtower reversed its strict ban, and now they said it was up to your biblically trained conscience. Yeah, so that.
But I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, that's all right. Go ahead, Anne-Marie. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I remember sitting in the hall, and I took the Watchtower Society very seriously. And I remember after the meeting, I was going through a new magazine, a Watchtower that I had just received. I was sitting in the seat while everybody was around socializing, and I ran across like maybe near the end of the Watchtower in a small box, something about questions people asked or something like that. In other words, it was made where it was almost buried. And it said, is it really against God to have a transplant? And it says, well, it's really up to your conscience. And I'm like, what? I said it really loud. Surprised nobody didn't turn around. I said, it's always been cannibalism, and you're good as dead and disfellowship just like you take a blood transfusion. And all of a sudden they quietly bury the fact that now it's up to your conscience. Remember that?
Of course. Now, Anne-Marie, do you remember what happened on March 21st, 2026? It was a Thursday.
Was I in the organization? What happened 2000?
Well, it was.
Why is it ringing a bell?
Well, it's ringing a bell because it was one of the biggest changes just recently that the Watchtower organization has ever made.
Did you say March 20th?
21st.
Oh, I thought it was March 20th that they announced that now you could store your own blood and use it.
It was actually governing body member Loesch that brought that up. So there's a big change right there. Many people died because of not being able to use their own blood in a transfusion. So they changed that. That's another big change. I never thought it was the truth. I never thought it was really the truth that you couldn't do it, but it's a change.
Yeah. But it's even sadder. There are two things. One, when a woman had Rh negative blood, the first baby would be okay. But if she had any other babies, she would have to have his blood completely transfused because he died. And that happened with everybody. Do you remember that?
I do remember it. I do remember it because our second child had to have that shot. Oh yeah. my daughter, well, actually, my third child actually was Jennifer. And actually, she wasn't the second, but she was the third. But the doctors came and told us, and we were devout Jehovah's Witnesses at the time, and they called up their Rogham chart. I think I'm pronouncing that right, Rogham, or something along those lines. But they said that the baby would have to have a shot of blood, certain type blood, so that it wouldn't develop jaundice and die. So this really created a dilemma. So what do you do? You're a devout you're a devout Jehovah's Witness, and you got a baby that's going to be born shortly, and you're saying, what do we do? Do we let the baby die? I mean, I know I wouldn't have done it. I know I wouldn't have, but the pressure was on. So I mean, for one whole month, I was asking witnesses, and I was asking, I was asking everybody I knew. Like at the time it wasn't, well, they just came in with the elder arrangement, but I was asking all the servants and all the circuit overseers and everybody, well, what should I really do with this? And basically what happened, well, what they said, and I mean, really, we were stressed. My first wife and I were stressed over this whole thing. And look at the pressure the witnesses put on you. So
I can't imagine.
So finally, we thought about it, and we weren't going to let the baby die. So we said, we're going for it. Our conscience overrules or trumps the organization's position on this. So we gave the baby the shot. She's a healthy young woman. Well, let's say young. She's in her 50s today. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad you made that decision. I mean, why are we not allowed to use our conscience, Rick? I mean, that's really strange. In front of Jehovah, you were praying, you were relying on Jehovah. Why can't you, just pray to Jehovah and let him guide your conscience and exercise your conscience? No, you have to obey men, according to Watchtower.
Oh, yeah. Well, you start out, great topic. Now, the topic was concerning an abandoned Watchtower truth. And did we ever think it was correct and they abandoned it? So I'll get on that track, and I'll give you another one if you want one.
Ooh, please do.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. We all knew the Watchtower referred to the United Nations as the great conspirator. They also called it the disgusting thing standing in the holy place. And they also called it the image of the wild beast. I mean, they had every name in the world that was so bad against the United Nations. And then in 1992, and I believed it. Now, in the Watchtower publications, there were over 4,000 critical negative comments or narratives about the United Nations. And so in 1992, the Watchtower joins the United Nations. Now that is something that really rocked a lot of boats. That's one of the things that got me out of the organization. So I believed at one time it was the great conspirator. I thought it was a disgusting thing standing in the holy place. But look at how they changed it. They don't make reference. They do not make bad reference to the Watchtower in their publications to this day. They don't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
But before they joined, they were constantly, we studied the Babylon the Great is Fallen, God's Kingdom Rules, at least twice, and they were emphatic that if anybody had anything to do with the United Nations, they were taking the side of Satan, of the disgusting thing standing in the holy place. It was really loudly proclaimed that this was an evil organization. We should have nothing to do with it many times. And then all of a sudden, maybe in the 90s, they started having little accolades or, praising the United Nations and the work they were doing. And I barely caught it. And I thought, oh, that's kind of different. Maybe there's something that they do good and they're just acknowledging it. I didn't really get it. And it wasn't until everybody had access to AOL, had access to the internet in 1995, And somebody discovered, just all you had to do is go on the United Nations website, look at the member list, and there they were under the W's, Watchtower Bible and Tract Society as a good standing member. And the thing is part of being a member, you have to promote or say good things about the United Nations. And that's when we started seeing in the magazines, you know, saying something positive about the United Nations. And they never talked about it. They never gave a talk that I remember, but there it was, little here, little there. And when it came out that people started discovering that they had actually were joining what this terrible wild beast, and they were in good standing with the United Nations. And it started coming out, and when Watchtower found out, people were finding out, they said, oh, that's just apostate lies. And then when they knew too many people could prove it, then they gave that sorry excuse about, well, we needed to join because we needed a library card because we needed access to the library, which was a lie. You could go use the library without joining them. They just lied, and then they lied about their lying. And then quietly, I think after 10 years, they got out of the, I guess this one, the United States, but they still are joined as a non-GO, non-governmental organization. But they talk out of both sides of their mouth. It's like if it benefits them, they'll make excuses. But if it's not necessarily going to benefit them, then they'll say they're evil. You there, Rick?
Yeah, well, thank you, Anne Marie. We have 248 wants to come in. 248, you're on with us.
Hey, how you doing, everybody?
Good.
Well, hello. What should we call you?
RJ.
Well, RJ, you know I always love to hear from you. What's on your mind?
I am just listening to the topic, and it's surprising. It's something that, you know, we believe it to be gospel, but the religion changes every 5 years, every 10 years, and every 20 years. And if it's the gospel, if it's divinely inspired, then they sure do change their mind a lot.
Yeah, God sure does change his mind. Mm-hmm. Or they don't get it right. No matter how you look at it, they can't seem to get the truth right.
Yeah, as far as my experience with the topic, I remember as I was like leaving, I started to be able to grow facial hair. And if you went a couple days without shaving, they would shame you and say you're not theocratic enough and all that. And then the change they made 1 or 2 years ago, I think brothers, you know, some of them are really corny. They'll have like a beard growing contest now.
It was sad. I mean, I heard of so many brothers that had to shave in the morning, go to work, and then before the meeting, they'd have to shave again, or else they would get chastised. I think Stephan is the one that brought out, he would have a long day at the auto shop or body shop, and then he would just be too tired. He'd get to the meeting, and then he'd get chastised for having a 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah, it's bonkers.
Bonkers.
And then they don't require ties and suits anymore, right?
Well, that's what I've heard, that it would be okay to not wear a tie. And I remember the rules were so strict that you not only had to wear a tie, it had to be a conservative tie, and you couldn't wear any kind of colored shirt. You couldn't even wear an off-white color shirt. It had to be a bright white colored dress shirt, and a not loud tie had to be conservative. And in the heat, even they couldn't take off their suit coats. They'd be sitting.
Yeah, I remember one. I remember one elder. He didn't like that I had I had a bright red dress shirt. He didn't like that.
That's crazy. Another part of the
you you can accessorize that with stuff. You know, it looks kind of, you know, like Michael Jackson wore it, like in the 90s, you know. You know, you could have like a tan or a white suit that looks really good with you know, a blue dress. I'm sorry, a red dress shirt. You could do blue too, but
it's just strange how they change. And I heard that the subtle change happened. Somebody mentioned a while back on the show that they were meeting up with a circuit overseer and a district overseer, and it was a real hot day, and they both got out of the car, and the brother said they left their suit coats in the car, and not only that, but they were both wearing colored shirts. So, of course, you know how fast gossip goes. So got around, oh, if they're wearing it, it must be okay. And all of a sudden, everybody's wearing pink shirts and yellow shirts and blue shirts and who knows what. And the ties got more decorative and louder. And it's just, you know, they don't stick to any one thing. And we used to have the strictest dress code. It was always the brothers had to dress like high-class lawyers, and all the sisters had to dress like they worked for a high-class lawyer, like they were legal secretaries. They had to be perfect, always wearing high heels and conservative dress, you know, usually a skirt and a blouse. And they didn't, and you always had to wear nylons and everything conservative. And that's why I had these neighbors who were Jehovah's Witnesses. I lived across from them for like 4 or 5 years, and I did not know they were Jehovah's Witnesses, simply because even when I saw them dressed up, they, you know, the sister had bare legs and little flip-flop high heels with bare toes, and the husband would have these colored shirts and loud ties. I just thought they were in another religion. And when I found out they were Jehovah's Witnesses, I called my mom. I said, Mom, my neighbors, my friends that I've been close to, I just found out they're Jehovah's Witnesses. What do I do? She says, don't say anything.
yeah, I think there's like a psychology behind that. Because, you know, I know when you're like 16, 17 years old, you're not going to have a job where you're required to wear a suit to work. You're not going to be in that position, you know. But wearing it made you feel like more of an adult and more of a grown-up and an important person.
It's just, you know, if it's the truth and if this is the way we're supposed to be, why does it keep changing? That's what bugs me. Why
and the sisters too, with the you know, like you know, people in, you know, like high schoolers and that, like girls don't wear dresses in the 90s and the 2000s unless it's homecoming or prom or whatever. They don't they don't wear like dresses, you know, but witnesses do it 2-3 times a week, you know.
You know why they don't wear any more suits? Because they already got too many. They already got too many lawsuits.
Oh, that's a twist. That's funny.
And
that is funny.
Really, Jehovah's Witness, everything they say is the opposite. It's like they're the disgusting thing standing in the holy place, and they're the publisher, and you're the faithful slave. How do you like that?
Well, I like it better than being called a cockroach. There was actually a Watchtower study calling us all cockroaches. And they even taught that Jesus was our father and Jehovah was our grandfather. And, you know, over the years, they have taught some really kind of crazy stuff. And none of it's really the truth.
Hey, Anne-Marie?
Oh, Anne-Marie? I'm glad, you know, like we're kind of on topic here. That's when, like, I had, like, I was out for a couple months, and I'm like doing soul searching, thinking about, like, you know, am I going to go back? Am I not? What do I believe? You know? And then I went through like the basement and found one of the books, and then I randomly flipped to a page, and then they were talking about, like, I think it was Young People Ask, one of those. And then they were talking about, is it all right to want to be popular and to play sports in school? And then they referenced like they referenced the Bible scripture about King Herod being eaten by worms.
What does that have to do with anything?
So I'm just thinking, I got a couple months of being free, a couple months of not being in the hamster wheel, and I'm just like looking at this, and I'm like, these people are bonkers. I'm not going back. No.
They're bonkers. Well, good for you. And is
I
this
became
still RJ?
no percent on that.
All right. Is this still, are you still RJ? Or did I mess up? Oh, good. I thought there was another brother who wanted to come in. I just want to keep my callers.
It was me, Anne-Marie. It was me. I was going to just cheer RJ up by saying that I don't mind being a cockroach because an apostate cockroach. I'll tell you why. Because cockroaches is about the only creatures that can survive nuclear explosions and Armageddon. So I think we're in good shape because we've got more chance of surviving the nonsense that they keep. You see, all this what you're saying on a serious note, though, about the things changing and why they keep using this tactic is because they sold us the biggest lie first. This is something that I just keep going back to always from the beginning. They sold us the biggest lie that they were speaking for God. They were speaking for Jehovah. Once we swallow that pill, they can say whatever they want and change it because they have
no doubt.
They've given themselves the right and the authority.
Right.
So for me, everybody who's listening, who's questioning the Watchtower in the background, and all of us here, it's really always good to go right back to the source, always. Go back to what they say they claim they are. They claim they speak for Jehovah, and they don't. As soon as you say that sentence to yourself, it doesn't really matter how many times they change it, because these are for people who are still in there, who still feel that they've got a hold on them. You know, I believe the best thing to do for everybody, that's why my name is the 587 Maverick, because for me, 587 was the biggest thing. That date that says that Jerusalem fell and that the invisible goings on in heaven in 1919 did not happen. It was a fabrication by the Watchtower to get people to be thinking, just like for the Mormons, Joseph Smith did what he did and so on. Everyone's got their little claim to fame and that's something invisibly happening that they got authority from. Once that bubble bursts, they can say what they want. They can go around making all the claims they want. It won't have any effect on us, only if we really register that fact that they speak. Yes, they do. I mean, like Samuel heard, you know, what I'm about to say is not from the governing body. It's from Jehovah. Oh, yeah. Okay, so next time you change that now, we have a problem here. Houston, we have a problem. You know? So that's the thing. I mean, that's all I have to say. But it's interesting how we swallow that first pill. That was a thing that they drive into us when we first start on the first few pages of our Bible studies. The very first things. If you're questioning what you're hearing now, it's Satan coming in now. He's trying to stop you from getting the truth. Yeah, it's just slowly until they get us. Yeah, that's it. That's really what it's about.
Are you Maverick? Are you Maverick?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to be sure.
Yeah,
I want to be sure. You know, that's such a good point you brought out. From the get-go, they kind of inculcate in you that if you disagree, it's Satan that's trying to confuse you. Because Satan doesn't want you to know the truth.
That's it. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, because they have an answer for everything. If you have doubts, it's Satan.
Yeah, and you know that scripture that they use on us saying the truth will set you free? They apply that completely different to themselves. They've got another bit on top of that. They say the truth will set us free, the Watchtower that is, from all responsibility and accountability for the lies that we spread for the last 100 and something years. So the truth that will set them free from all accountability and actual honesty, in integrity and fact and reality, they want to be absolved from that. But unfortunately, it's stacking up against them because people can go and check now, which was more difficult back in before the internet. Now they can't get away with it now, and therefore, so they have to double down. They have to double down on the propaganda to keep those people there. So the greatest liberation is if people are, for example, many people leave because they not interested in Christianity or the Bible anymore. Fair enough, that's everyone's choice. But those
Well, they're tired of the lies.
Yeah, exactly.
Control.
Yeah. So, but then for those who are still looking at the Bible as their authority, for example, I know this is not a Bible-focused topic, but for those who are leaving, who still are worried about their faith, for example, and they still want to carry on being a Christian, they don't have to worry because they should be trusting the Bible anyway. So that's where the test comes at. Who do we actually follow? Are we following men, as you said earlier, Anne-Marie? Are people following men, humans, or are they following the authority that they say they claim to respect? The Watchtower is not in that picture. And I'll leave it on this. Charles Taze Russell, just coming back to a little way back when we were talking about conscience, the very early statements that Charles Taze Russell said in a Watchtower, 1895 Watchtower, he said, he said, I'm not quoting verbatim, but very close to it. He said, don't let organization is totally unnecessary. The Bible's rules should be the only rules. Don't let anybody bind you with their conscience, and you do not bind anyone with your conscience. That's straight out of Charles Taze Russell.
Yes, I remember reading that.
Before he had an organization, before he had an audience, and he was trying to pull people out of the different churches to say, well, look how free we are. We're not following men. And then lo and behold, he carried on and became the very thing he was supposed to be against. Tells you all we need to know about the roots and foundations of this organization. And Marie, thank you. I'll let someone else come in.
Well, Maverick, thank you so much for chiming in. And just one more little thing. Charles Taze Russell, I know he had his twisty things, but one thing he did say, and it was in print, he said, we just teach what we believe is the truth, but if anybody disagrees, feel free to follow your conscience, to write us. There wasn't a threat if you had questions or if you disagreed. There was not a threat that somehow your life and your reputation and your good name would be ruined. But now it's like you either obey us, be loyal to us, don't question us, respect us, or else you're going to be ruined. They will destroy you.
Yeah, I often make a parallel to how people get caught up in gangs and sort of deep level organized crime. They don't start off with someone pointing a gun to their head and saying, you've got to do this. They often give them a lot of encouragement and say, well, look, we're going to look after your families. We're going to, you're going to get protected, come into the family. And then once you're in the family, that's when it starts to change because they own you now. So that's a classic kind of tactic we never knew, none of us knew the intentions and the true undercurrents of the true motivations of Charles Taze Russell and anyone else who's in a position of leadership in these big organized religions. We none of us could know from the outside. How can we? It all looks squeaky clean. It looks so great. One thing I remember, even in my teens, I used to say, it's too squeaky clean here. This is not reality. It doesn't. It's just, why is everybody trying so hard to be spotless? It doesn't make sense because we know we're all flawed. I certainly do. My family and myself and everyone around me. It's just normal. Everyone loses it sometimes. Nobody loses it. Nobody gets upset. No one, has a moment where I couldn't understand that. And it just felt bizarrely too packaged. The PR was like, when you're young as well, and you have no kind of reference from somewhere else, and you're just coming into it like that, it's near on impossible to be able to detect, to smell the rat, and the red flags, you can't see it. It's hard. Yeah.
You are so right.
Say to Maverick, they have they're very good at keeping appearances and pretending to be perfect. And when I was a youngster or a teenager or whatever, there was a lot of crash outs among young adult witnesses. There are, witnesses that get married young and everything, but there was a lot of there's some dating and it doesn't go the right way, and somebody you know, tries to commit suicide or something, or they jump the gun on, you know, immorality, and then get disfellowshipped, and it just crushes their mental health.
Yeah,
And
it does.
it is not, it's not good for the mind. It eats people alive.
Yeah, it teaches you. It's almost like you can't come back from it. You make a mistake or you get caught up in things of life, and okay, you can move forward from that. But the way it's packaged in the organization, you're absolutely right. You're so right. You know, it becomes impossible. The guilt that's incurred by most people, especially when they actually do, you know, want to not get into trouble, as they say, you know, or I think most of the time, the people who actually took it seriously, the impact of doing something wrong, or maybe you know, being seen to like not be towing the line, it's so strong. So that, as you said, it's trauma. It's very much trauma. There's no other way of putting it. And a lot of people don't recover from it. Sadly, you know, they carry that for decades after, even when they leave. Which is, so it's a really good point you made there.
Yeah, I just remember I never like would admit that I was unhappy or depressed, but I had to been I had a lot of like mental illnesses like that I, you know, sucked down, like I didn't acknowledge, carried with me, you know.
Yeah, I could understand. I witnessed it for myself, my own personal experiences. There were many periods of time where I was really down for years. And then, you know, other people around me as well had similar experiences, but no one really spoke to each other. So we didn't know what was going on. And then you just come to the Kingdom Hall and everyone's got to just, okay, let's get a grip now, just smile, put the Kingdom smile on, and then just bear with it, you know, and it's not real. I used to be tired of not being real because in my core, I'm just too real. I can't fake things, you know, and most people who are here can relate to that. That's why we had the courage to kind of come out. But yeah.
Yeah, like you think like being or going crazy, you think you're hearing voices in your head and you're talking to yourself and all that. It doesn't always look like that. There's kind of like small signs that, you know, things aren't quite right, and you got to address them and you got to talk to people about it if you want to fix it.
And the other thing is we're trained to second guess our own feelings. If someone at the platform is telling you, "Aren't we the happiest people?" and you're sitting there feeling miserable, and they're announcing that you're happy, that's the epitome of control and manipulation. Because that's telling me, well, maybe I should be thinking, maybe I should be happy. Why am I not happy?
Maverick, a couple years after I left, their tagline was best life ever. Now, when you were a witness, did that saying come to your mind?
No. There were moments where it was peaceful. There was moments where nothing was, no drama or nothing, but by and large, I just used to fight for myself, the feeling about this is how I feel, and then my own feelings are being challenged by an organizational, what's it called, a statement made by a culture that's enforcing and pushing itself onto my will and making me second guess myself all the time about how I feel and what my reality is. And whether I agree with it or I don't agree with it, doesn't matter. It's this is the way. And if you don't feel right about that, that's on you. That's your problem. I don't know if have we lost Anne-Marie?
Yeah, it's always our problem. Something wrong with you.
Yeah.
And Maverick, the thing I didn't really understand was, because I still had a lot of family members who were in even after I left. And it was like a weird dynamic with the non-family members that were witnesses. Like, they kind of wish you were dead because you you know everything about being a witness and you decide not to do that. But then they also want you back too. So, I mean, which is it? Do you want me dead and wish the worst for me? Or do you love me and are sad that I'm not there? Pick a lane.
I'll leave you with this thought as well. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I remember some of my family members bump into witnesses from my congregation in the past, right? And they say, "Oh," and I instructed my family not to tell the Kingdom Hall people from my Kingdom Hall what my life is about, whether I've won the lottery, whether I'm a multimillionaire, whether I've got 10 children or whatever. Doesn't matter. Don't tell them anything. And they said, why? It's because I'm supposed to be dead. Dead people don't have a history. If you want to pass me in the street and you don't want to say hello, why do you want to know whether I've bought a house or I've got 10 children or whatever? You know, I shouldn't have to. They're so nosy about wanting to know what's in your life when you leave, but when you come up to them and want to speak to them sincerely, they just run away. As you said, they'd rather see you dead because it irritates them. It's a strange dynamic. I can't work that out, to be honest.
You know, you're born on this planet, for one thing. This planet is the only planet in the universe known to mankind where life can exist, okay? So your mother and your father got together out of all the billions of people on the planet, and they got together, and out of all the billion cells in your father's body and the billions of eggs in your mother's body, you were born on this planet, which is unusual to begin with. And now you're going to let these people destroy your life? I mean, that's God right there. The fact that you're even here. Now people have to focus on what God gave you inside, figure out who you are and move on. Okay. And she can help people leave the organization, whatever. But, you know, you're going to let these people bog you down? Come on, man. Life is short. When you hit 65 and 70, you're going to be like, I shouldn't even have wasted my time on any of this. And God bless you all.
Well, God bless you. And it is so important to not worry, but to be cognizant of your first responsibility is to get in touch with you, find out how you are. You need to do your own work, your own healing, to find your authentic self and learn to give yourself permission to be your authentic self, not looking to others to tell you if you're doing it right or if you're doing it wrong or if you should do this or shouldn't do that. You have to develop the understanding that God wouldn't create you as an individual. You are so unique. And why would he give you a brain? Why would he tell you to make sure of all things? Why would he tell you to have your mind trained through use to be able to distinguish right and wrong? Your perceptive powers should be sharp. That involves thinking. And it's not wrong to use your brain. And Watchtower is all about don't get educated. Of course, now they say it's up to your conscience, but they don't really want you to be educated because they don't want you to think. And, you know, even Morris was forced to say that the better the university, the bigger the danger. And I thought it was interesting that he said that. I think he slipped that in because he wanted people to say, what? What did he say? Because he was trying to give little messages like, guys, this is full of shit. You guys get out.
The Watchtower don't want you to go to school unless they need lawyers, you know. Then you can go and get an education. You can be their lawyer. But if you're not going to be a lawyer for them or somebody, no school allowed. No, no, no.
It's all about control. If they can't control it, they don't want it. If they can't control it, they're either going to keep you under their thumb with threats or they're going to get rid of your sorry ass. Sorry for the blunt swearing, sorry. But they just make me sick. They make me sick. The more I find out about them, like all those scams, like, oh, the brothers want to build a new assembly hall, and they save and they save and they save, and they're giving it to the, I don't know why they did this. They're sending it to the Watchtower Society, and I guess the Watchtower Society was going to help them out, and they were trying to come up with a certain amount. It took them like 5 years to come up with the amount, and then when they felt they had enough money, they asked the brothers, for the money back, and they said, oh, we changed our minds. So they never got their money back, and they never got their hall. Same thing with some learning center they were supposed to be building in Pennsylvania years ago. And Mike and Kim on YouTube were talking about it, and they were all excited, as were a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses. It's supposed to be a learning center to help people coming back in the resurrection. And everybody was donating everything they had. And now it's a legal center. No explanation. Nobody gets their money back. And how about the scam where the Watchtower is putting out that they needed loans, but they wouldn't accept any loan from the brothers less than $5,000. But you donate $5,000 or more, you lend it to us, and when you need the money back, you just write us a letter. I heard of so many people that needed the money maybe to put their mother in a home, or they needed to do repairs on their home or medical bills or whatever. And they wrote the society, said, we really need our money back. Oh, don't you want to please Jehovah? Don't you know Jehovah will provide? Bottom line, no story that I heard about the situation where the people lent Watchtower money ever got their money back, ever. And look at all the people.
You can tell by these new videos. Excuse me, I'm sorry. You can tell by these
show.
No, that's your show. But it's okay. It's a good show. Listen, if you can tell by these videos too that they're putting out now that they're targeting young construction workers. They've been doing this for a long time. Send your children forward and let them work for us. And it's all free labor. How much money do they save that way? All the time we spent on those Kingdom Hall builds and building, doing all that stuff and pioneering. I mean, that's all free labor.
Yeah, and what's horrible is they make it sound like such a privilege to be used as slaves, not get medical insurance, not get a salary. And now we know that people used to think they could just serve as long as they were good. But now they're just suddenly, oh, we don't need your services anymore, and kick them out. A lot of them don't have a place to go.
Brother, a lot of these brothers lost their hair because they were hanging drywall and balancing the drywall on their head and stuff. And then they ended up losing their hair because of that. Crazy.
Oh, I hadn't heard that. And that's hard work. The drywall. Oh, God, that's hard work. Oh. Well, were you ever involved in any of that?
We had one brother, we nicknamed him Dusty. Because he was covered with drywall dust all the time.
Oh. And that meant he must have been breathing it. Was he wearing a mask?
Oh, probably not.
Not good.
I don't know if masks were really used back then, but just did what we had to do,
Oh, so many of you guys meant well and busted your behinds to, please Jehovah and do whatever the organization needed, because it was always ingrained in you that this is in the service of Jehovah. And it was, oh my God, they just use and abuse you. And then when you're not that valuable anymore, they just spit you out. Don't let the door hit you in the ass.
Yeah, like all those people at Bethel. That's sad.
Very, very sad. Yeah, Johnny the Beth, let's go ahead.
No, I was just laughing.
Oh, honey, there's a lot to laugh about.
Well, there's this story about a brother, one of them brothers, the high ones, like Ed Dunlap or whatever those guys were. I forget which one it was, but he ended up, they kicked him out. He ended up sleeping on a park bench right outside the Watchtower thing. had to have a blanket and everything. He had a pillow, and he spent like a couple weeks sleeping out on a bench in front of the Watchtower Society. And he had a really nice hotel.
Lamp.
What's that?
I'm sorry. Well, I had heard that a brother, well, this is what I heard. I heard that a brother kind of just joking with Brother Noor. Brother Noor was a very staunch, arrogant, serious kind of guy. He didn't have much of a sense of humor. I think he was wound a little too tight. And there was always a rule. Exactly. And he was always trying to, he believed in the reinforcement of nobody gets married at Bethel. But then he wanted to marry this sister. Maybe he loved her, maybe he didn't. I don't know. But he got married. And then they had, of course, change the rule because you can't tell somebody one thing and then you do another. So this one brother, he was kind of young and kind of goofy, and he was just joking with Brother Noor. But Brother Noor was so serious. And he kind of made a little joke to Brother Noor about, oh, so now we could get married because you had to get married. Now you know how it feels, or something stupid. And Brother Noor got so angry, he kicked him out right there. Now, I don't know if it was Ed Dunlap or whoever, but I thought it was some younger guy, but he got kicked out. He was sleeping on a bench outside of Bethel. And there were a lot of Bethelites that felt that this was very unfair, and they were sneaking out food to him. I did hear of one brother that slept on a bench outside Bethel that literally froze to death. Now, I don't know if that was the one. But anyway, Noor found out that some brothers were feeding him secretly, and he wasn't quite sure who it was. He had his ideas, but he just put the fear of God in them, and he said, if I catch any one of you or hear of any one of you giving this guy that I put out food, you're going to be out there with him. I mean, how
and then the
rude
next day,
and mean.
I know. And then the next day, he was out feeding the pigeons.
Aww. Well, it helps to show love, you know. I mean, how horrible to be kicked out like you're a bad person just because Noor didn't like what you said and he was just messing with them.
Right.
Jeez.
Right. Yeah, they can't handle. There's a real limited sense of humor there. Unless you're among friends, unless you're amongst, your cliquish friends, which is a good thing. Everybody had to find their clique when they got in there. We were in the beer drinking single boys clique, We were sneaking out to the bars and just having a good old time. And we come back, we clean up pretty good. We get our suits and tie out, and we go to service and pioneer and stuff like that. But then we didn't break the rules really bad or anything. But yeah, we had a couple of little places we used to meet at, and and then and nobody really judged us or anything like that. But we were kind of not really ever going to be a ministerial servant or elder or anything like that, I don't think. But 10 years served here for myself, and had a lot of respect. People were bringing their kids, though. I babysit all the kids. Uncle Marty, they call him. They'd bring their kids over. I'm like, wait a minute. There's something wrong with this picture. They all be out partying, having a good time, and I'm left with all the kids. Well, and I had my own nieces and nephews growing up in it and all that. And so it was a lot of good experiences, but yet, man, it's just, no. I recommend stay away.
Oh, no doubt.
Get on with your life, like you said, Emery. Get on with your find your individuality and grow. And then call in once in a while and just share and, all that. And I listen to you guys all the time, and I have a really busy life. But, I just encourage everybody to really start from this time forward. Enjoy every day that you can, because your time is limited on this planet. And just the fact that you're here is amazing. Think about it. Think of all the ways that it's amazing that you're even here. Your mom and dad had to meet first, and their mom and dad had to meet first, and then, the planet had to be inhabited. By that time, it already was inhabitable for people, And then when they got together, and then all the randomness of your father's and your mother's things coming together, and then there you are. Now, wait a minute. What is the chance of that happening? That's more of That's more of a chance than winning the lotto a million times over.
Exactly. It really is a miracle that we are who we are, because we are very aware that we're not just a clone or some machine or robot or drone. We are completely unique individuals. And even David said, or somebody said in Psalms, that Jehovah saw the embryo of him. So it's like, I believe that we are all part of God because I believe God made us. So if God made us, then we're all a part of him. And then he knows us from conception, and we're all different. Even twins are different. They're all different. So why would we join a corporation or an organization that tries to make us fit the same mold? And don't think for yourself. Don't use your conscience. If you disagree with us, that's Satan. You're an apostate. We're going to get rid of your sorry ass. I mean, is that what Jesus died for?
Well, the way this religion is, it teaches that you are in a spiritual paradise, but there's no paradise there. I mean, they talk about the new system. Well, what is this so-called a new system? There's the word system in there, that word system. That symbolizes control. I really believe that what they believe is coming down the pike for them is that after Armageddon, supposedly Watchtower is going to take over the entire Earth, and everybody on planet Earth, and literally everybody, will be a slave to Watchtower. This will be planet Earth, according to the way they're teaching all this stuff, is going to be an enslaved planet. Everybody on the planet will be enslaved to this horrible, satanic, ruthless North Theic religion. And that's what they're planning. I really believe that's what they're planning.
It makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a small scale. It's a small scale on what's happening in the real world. AI is going to turn the whole world into a giant factory, and everybody's going to be working there. So, but Jehovah's Witnesses is just a small scale of what's happening. But they're doing the same thing. They use the same tactics as all the corporations, the big corporations.
Yeah,
So
it's all about
business. Yeah,
it's all about money, and it's all about the image. Of course, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be, even in this so-called new system, as they call it, it's going to be just that. It's going to be all about them, the governing body, the worship of the governing body, the praise of the governing body, probably even praying to the governing body, and all that stuff. And you're not going to have any freedom in that new world. It's not going to be, you're not going to choose where you want to live. They're going to tell you where you can live. They're going to tell you what you can and cannot do, and who you can see and who you cannot. It's going to be total imprisonment. It's going to be, Earth will be an open air prison, is what it'll be. According to Watchtower, that is.
As soon as you get in there, they start brainwashing you with because I remember as soon as I went in there, they start little by little, they nip away your beliefs, and then they start putting in there, they start playing on your ego, where they set you up to stick up for the organization, to say everything is wrong, to not even say God bless you when somebody sneezes, or when you can't, all these little goofy rules. Like you said, there's 2 billion rules if you look at the whole list that you have to follow. When Jesus said, very, very simple to be a Christian if you really want to be. But so they set you up with all that stuff. And so little by little, it plays with your mind. Next thing you know, you're judging your family members. They're not believing me, so they're going to go. It just plays with your head. Even if you're not really that kind of person, it just starts getting away at you. And you're like, you start believing it. And then you believe that and then you start sticking up for the organization. They got you,
Yeah.
And then they got your children. If you got kids, off they go to work for free. Off to see the wizard, they call.
I think that's why they're going to allow people to marry outside of the group, because I really think they are so desperate for members that they will allow people to marry outside the group. Because think about it, if you marry someone outside of the group, then you can witness to that one you married to, that you married, and bring them into the so-called truth. So I think that's what they're banking on, is that all these new people that get married to these witnesses are going to come into the truth. But that ain't going to happen, because the internet's destroying them big time. I mean, you can't get on the internet without finding something about Watchtower that's putting them to shame big time. So, yeah, it's not going to work. Watchtower's going to still collapse. Things are going to change. They're going to have problems, of course, in the future. Government's already on their tail. So all they're doing is trying to patch holes in a sinking ship. Or like someone said a while back, arranging chairs on the Titanic,
But yeah, I was thinking if they stay alive, they're going to open up the doors, the floodgates, and then they're going to allow all these people who have just from every other country. There's a lot of different names that people use for people, and I don't want to use any names here, but it's just going to be a free for all. Everybody's just going to gravitate in to have a place to go, and they're going to take anybody that they can. That's my theory. And then that'll maybe help them grow if they can stay alive even. But so it's not going to be the same organization that we grew up in, not even close.
And it's
there'll be people in there, illegals, there'll be everybody, it's like.
Yeah. And it's very comparable to North Korea. I mean, if you look at how North Korea is.
Yeah, I like that point. That was a good point.
They are very, very similar. Very similar.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. They copy. These people are been in this for a long time. Your cults have different levels. You have your secret cults, which you have no idea who they even are. They're the ones that are really running the world. Okay, then you have your public cults, like Jehovah's Witness, which they go out and they actually recruit people in a sort of a subtle way to get them more in towards these deeper cults. They're all there for the same purpose, to serve, like you said, one master. Gaga, Magog, or whatever it's going to be. Google, Gaga, Google, Gaga, Lady Gaga. I don't know, Google. I'm getting tongue-tied here. So that's it. Yeah, it'll be, they're all there for the same purpose. It's just that they have different levels of exposure. You know what I'm saying? Like the people that are really behind it, that have been doing this for a long time, hundreds of years, they're getting control over things slowly. They know what they're doing. Now they got AI to work for them. Well, they've been doing this a long time, and this isn't their first rodeo, and they know how to get there. And I like the idea of the tentacles. Touched by the tentacles. I thought that was pretty clever. I'll tell you why, because those are like little tentacles going out there, and you got your scientists, Christian scientists, you got your Mormons, and you got but then you go deeper and deeper, and you've got your Knights Templar, and it goes deeper and deeper, and then you find out that Rome was never even really destroyed. It's just still alive today, and it's called the Catholic Church, the Vatican. Do you know Jehovah's Witness is I call it jealous little brother. That's what I call Jehovah's Witness. The Watchtower, the jealous little brother of the Vatican. How's that?
and one time they even said, Watchtower, I think, said one time, I don't remember where, but I remember hearing it one time. They said, Watchtower actually said, "Oh, we're just like the Catholic Church."
Yeah. Yeah, and all the condemning they've done over the years of it,
Yeah.
And it's just, it's a jealousy thing. It really is. There's a jealousy issue going on, because really the Catholic Church, the Vatican, is much larger. It's much more powerful. And Jehovah's Witnesses always wanted that power. And all those wanting to seek power, well, they're going to always go after those in power so they can get some of that power. And they're going to try to take that away from us. I say, keep your world simple. Stay with your friends. Stay within your neighborhood, just like we used to. We used to go to the book study. Your book study was right down the road. Everybody'd meet there, and we knew everybody. Hey, go back to that, okay? You don't have to give up. You don't have to give up every little inkle thought, everything that you learned through that time period, but just go back to the good, the real things, the good things. You know.
I think if you dig deep enough into Watchtower, if you really, this is my theory, but I think if you really dig deep enough into the who's who of Watchtower, I think the farther down that rabbit hole you go, I think you're going to find out that Watchtower is really in cahoots with these upper echelons of government that are wanting to control the world. I don't know who they are, but I really think Watchtower is in cahoots with some very powerful, evil people that are just waiting in the wings, just waiting to launch something. And I think that's what Watchtower is doing. I think this whole thing about they're preparing the witnesses to get ready for something. I mean, it could be anywhere, anything from maybe having them go to a camp where they all reside to get instruction. I don't know, but I think Watchtower is up to something. And
sounds like a Jimmy Jones thing.
Well, not so much the Jimmy Jones thing, but I think there's something worse than that going on. I think there's some anti-Christ stuff going on there.
Well, it does seem that they have been grooming the rank and file, like Rick has brought out, that they slowly, obey, even if it doesn't make sense, obey, loyalty, don't question, just obey. And they've been pushing it here and there and here and there, kind of priming their brain. So when the real doo-doo hits the fan, they're already kind of primed to not be too surprised if some big announcement comes. And to me, because I've heard the governing body make references to one day they just won't be there, they'll be taken up to heaven, which we know means they're going to run. And but that I only heard from the governing body once, and it was from the governing body, not from hearsay. And it makes sense to me because they want all of the property. So part of what Rick says makes sense when he talks about it. Almost seems like they're pushing out the rank and file, because the more they can get to just leave on their own, the more excuses they have to sell off Kingdom Halls. They can't hang around much longer. They don't want to deal with courts, and they don't want to deal with people asking them questions. So I wouldn't be surprised if suddenly there came this announcement out of the blue, but they kind of been prepared to, we know it doesn't make sense, but we need you to go to this far off place or whatever. They think there's going to be a camp there. And I think they're just going to be led there. Maybe they feel like they're getting comfort and safety, but by and by, I think bottom line, they're going to be dumped. You know how people love their dogs and then they just decide they don't want to deal with them anymore, and they dump them off of the shelter, and the dog thinks they're going to come back, but they're abandoned.
Well, there'll be a giant Bethel building up there, maybe a big building where they'll all have to work, and they'll start putting out the magazines again.
But you know what?
I don't know.
There's no place on the planet where the governing body can hide. I'm sorry. They cannot hide from the Almighty. They may think they can, but trust me. They may hide.
I'm hearing you.
They may hide from humans, so let me tell you this. They cannot and will not hide from the Almighty. He knows where they're going to be. He knows what's in their minds. He knows what they're thinking. And they will stand before him, and they will give him an account because of all the things they've done wrong. So there's no escape for the governing body. If they think they're going to vanish into heaven, nope, that's not going to happen. They're just going to be right on the earth like everybody else is. They'll either hide somewhere or they'll be dead. But the point is, that they will face the Almighty. If they're doing all this evil, they will face him.
They'll all make a new video. It'll be a new video. They'll all be hanging out in Toni Morris's basement.
Well, I don't like to engage in making fun of Tony Morris because I think they put him through hell. But the thing is, Watchtower never said they're, let me say. No, I understand, but
I know.
it just bothers me. But the thing is that they would say, you know, don't be surprised if we're taken up to heaven, but don't worry, the elders will take care of you. So they kind of put it out there and then you never hear about it again. So I remember these little tidbits along the way. And for them to claim that just one day they won't be there, you know, remember the book, The Odessa File, how they had secret files on the Germany Gestapo and the higher ups and the officers and such. And they had ways to get them out and, you know, put them in Argentina or Czechoslovakia or whatever in France. And they were just living high on the hog. Some of them got caught, but I think that's what they have planned. They are so secure. They never do anything that does not benefit them first. I want to do a little call out. It's already out of time. I just want to do a call out to if there's anybody who is, and maybe a new listener, if you've never talked before, I forgot to welcome you as a new caller. Please feel free. If you feel like even saying 2 words, you are welcome to call into the show, ask a question, give a comment. It's okay. I'm sorry I forgot to welcome new callers. I apologize. If anybody has never called in before, please feel free to start it.
Yeah, you're right. How you doing? It's Fred today.
Hello. Well,
Yeah,
what's your name?
Let me think. I think it's Dick Boogie.
Oh, don't be a smart ass. Okay. I got you.
Here we go.
Thank you, Dick. How are you?
I'm doing fine. You know, program this evening was on the United Nations. And I think people to realize is that one of the governing body members joined, and he represented the Watchtower as an NGO. All governing members knew it. And if you join as an NGO, the mission of the mission of the United Nations, and the United Nations, according to the Watchtower, is the whole coming out of the oceans, and more importantly, to counter God. So here's the Watch, the governing body. Here's the Watch joining the Nations as NGO. But there's the most excuse that they needed elect from the United Nations, which is absurd if you think about it.
Right.
You know, if Holy Spirit is running the organization and the information on some country or whatever, Heavenly Father would give it to them if they were inspired by our Heavenly Father, Yahweh, but they call him Jehovah. That's another comment at a different time. Critical.
Yeah.
And I would have thought so many would have left when that became news. And you know what? That really didn't happen. I thought there'd be a mass exodus of the Watchtower. But that didn't happen. It did happen in 75 and, you know, earlier in Rutherford's time. But
that's a good point. Did we lose you already?
So are you saying goodbye to Del?
Oh, well, thank you for chiming in. I think we're just about out of time. Anybody else have a quick comment? Okay, I'm going to go to Rick and see if we need to close the show. You guys are wonderful. I love your comments. Rick, are we needing to close the show now?
I believe we can close the show now, Anne Marie. So give your last words. Yep.
Well, okay. Well, I just want you all to know I really appreciate you. Did anybody have like a 10-second thought? I don't want to forget anybody because I do need to close the show. We're a little bit over time. Today's show again. Go ahead.
I just want to thank you, Anne Marie, for a great show tonight and for some great information. You always give great information. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Donald. I want to thank everyone who called into our show today, Six Green Saturday, and the subject of our show, Touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower, was what Watchtower teachings did you believe is truth that have been abandoned? And you can make a list and really think about it. They've changed the ministry reports on hours and placements. You now can have discrete tattoos. Just don't tell them about it. The 1914 generation teaching has drastically changed. Armageddon has been coming every day, any day, next week. Now it may not come in your lifetime. Education, which was once severely frowned upon, is now up to your conscience. You can now store and use your own blood. You no longer have to be prepared to defend your faith or the truth, but just refer anyone who's interested to jw.org. And they don't say a Jehovah's Witness has been disfellowshipped for conduct unbecoming a Christian anymore or removed. They just say he's no longer a Jehovah's Witness. It sounds nicer. The dress code has completely changed. Used to be the brothers had to wear bright white shirts, conservative ties, couldn't take off their suit coats no matter how hot it was, and couldn't have beers. Now, for our sisters in dress codes, they always had to wear nylons or pantyhose, even when heavily pregnant in the heat. They always had to dress conservatively, dresses and skirts only. Now, sisters can have bare legs, open-toed, flip-on, flip-flop heels, and wear slacks. We used to be required to be in the ministry school so that we could use the Bible to convince people that we had the truth. Now Jehovah's Witnesses don't even have a ministry school. They just stand by their literature cart, no Bibles, and just hand out Watchtower literature. And there's no no engaging in biblical discussions at all with people. They want, because they know they're going to screw it up because they're not trained. We used to be able to defend our faith, and I have to hurry because we're really out of time. And all we can do is direct them to jw.org. We never could toast before. Now it's okay, according to our conscience. The 1975 Armageddon prophecy heavily pushed since 1966 to early 1975, but now it never happened. If you're not out there witnessing, you can still drink, yes.
Yeah,
just not in public. Don't be drunk.
See,
if I can get through this, I'm way over.
I get told because I'm Baptist, you shouldn't drink at all. It's not
well.
good for
That's
you.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, let me finish, and we have to close the show. What's your name, sweetheart? I'm going to give you credit.
Janine.
What's your name, love?
Janine, I'm from Ukiah, California.
I remember you. Okay, let me finish up because we're running late, but thank you for calling in. We heard from the Apollo podium many times, if you're not out there witnessing, how can you call yourself a witness of Jehovah? You were getting in trouble if you didn't turn in a regular field report and report enough time. You also had to join the ministry school and give talks. The March 1st, 1979, Watchtower was very concerning because on the front page, they told you to put faith in the Watchtower organization. I want to thank the callers who called in today. Donald from Texas, he was never a Jehovah's Witness, studied in the 90s, and he mentioned the term past truth. That is great. They used to call it old light, now it's past truth. They're always changing their wording and their titles. He didn't like the idea that you have to abandon your friends who don't want to join the Watchtower and the control that they have over your life on top of Armageddon. Pixie brought out the book, Rape of the Mind. I think that's a good book to get. I want to thank Susan and Rick. I want to thank Stephen, Maverick from London, Nadine, Hidley from New York,
Susan, who brought out the 1914 generation, RJ, Dick Borgie, and of course you, Janine, from Ukiah. I want to thank everyone, and we do need to go to our dear patient brother, Rick, and JW World News. Rick?
Well, thank you very much, Anne Marie. Well, that was a good program. You had a lot of people coming in, a lot of numbers coming in tonight. Boy, I'll tell you what, it really amazes me. It really amazes me. Here we are in the middle of summer, July 25th, people on vacation, people camping, people going to the beach, people going to the mountains, but they're coming into the 6 screens. Now, I don't know if they're on vacation doing this, but you would think it would slow down a little bit in the summer. You really would, but it doesn't. Our numbers are just going like bonkers here at the 6 screens. Well, thank you very much, Anne Marie. And as you say, thank you to all the callers as well. Now, don't go anywhere. We have got JW World News coming up next. Let me just give you a little teaser here. I've got reports coming in here to the 6 screens. This is like a news clearinghouse for the ex-Jehovah's Witness world. And I've got reports coming in here. Now, don't take it to the bank and cash it because I don't know. But anyways, it's dealing with chaperoning. Oh, my goodness. Did you have a chaperone when you were dating in the witness world? Well, I'll tell you what, I believe they're going to get rid of that. I really do, and I'll tell you why. Coming up on JW World News, coming up next, right here on the 6 screens Telenetwork. Thank you for listening in to Touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower.